Well, hello, friends. I am here today on Jennifer's Real Estate Corner, her live stream with Ray Sola. Hi, Ray.
Hello, Jennifer.
I'm so glad you're here. So Ray is with Cloud. Let me make sure I get that all right. Cloudland Painting, and actually is Paintworks, but I want to
Yeah.
put in the word painting because he runs an amazing company, and he covers basically most of the state of Connecticut, pending the job. If it's a good job, he does travel. So Ray, welcome, welcome,
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah.
All
So a
right.
little, so a little about me.
Yeah.
Cloudland Paintworks. We're now in our 21st year of business. But I actually started painting when I was in high school back in 1981.
Wow.
So I've been around painting for quite some time. and one thing for me is I always believed in continuing education and always try to get better. And so I belong to a trade organization where that is promoted, continuing education. And the other thing is I don't like working alone. I'm not a solo person, even though I'm a sola. So I always liked having workers. So now we have three crews, and
That's
I
great.
get to work. I get to work.
Um, so with that, you've been painting, did you say 21 years?
Well, Cloudland is
Oh,
in our 21st,
Cloudland's been
yeah, 21st
okay in
year.
1981. I'm not going to do math, but
Yeah, yeah.
I get the
So
rest of it. But you've been doing Cloudland Paintworks for 21 years. That's huge.
it
So
is.
where are you basically based out of?
So we are based out of North Haven, Connecticut,
Okay,
and we work in, you know, that's our home base,
that's your
and
home base.
that's
I
our
know
home
you're
base.
stretched all over, so we don't need to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
into details of where, but I know
yeah.
you are kind of all over the place, so
Right,
which is
right.
cool.
And so
So
and we're mainly residential contractors. That's our bread and butter. But then we also do work for some commercial projects there. But it's typically a lot of our residential customers happen to own businesses and buildings, and they like us, and then we'll go in and take care of that
and
for
do
them
that. So
as
you're
well.
so really it's the residential that you do.
Correct.
You've done a couple churches, haven't you done some churches?
Yep, yep. Again, through people we know. So we've, and then once you get into a certain niche, there, birds of a feather flock together. So a lot of plaster repair. Excuse me, I don't know if you can hear the train going by. I'm close to a rail
No,
line.
it's all good.
Okay,
No,
good. Which I actually love when the train goes by. But
yeah, me
anyhow,
too.
yeah. So we do a lot of sheetrock and plaster repair, and these are things that I learned years ago. And there's, it's not becoming a dying art, but it kind of is. And
Right.
so this way here, I've trained my guys that way, plus other trainings I've sent the guys to over the years for different types of specific training for plaster and things like that. So a lot of the churches, most all of them in the New Haven area, are plaster, real
Right.
plaster.
Real
And so,
plaster.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah,
So let's hit on a subject because of painting. Because most people all can just Google it, or it's easy. You just pick up some paint at the store,
right.
and you get a brush or something. I guess they call it a brush,
Oh,
and
yeah.
or you can just roll something on. Everything is do it yourself, the DIYs. Now, there's a difference between a do it yourself and there's a difference between you. Now, just give me one or two things that are so different with you compared to a do it, besides buying all the products. I mean, you take care of
Yeah,
all that
yeah.
and that's probably the main thing of like the product of what you're going to put on your walls or ceilings.
Right, right. And the DIY market is shrinking. There is more do it for me now is becoming more and more, but it always had to been around 50-50. But do it for me is more important. And why hire a professional like myself is because we have the knowledge of how to put, selecting the right paint. I mean, in this country, there are no regulations for what paint is. You could put ketchup and water together and call it red paint.
Okay.
Okay, so not that anyone's doing that,
Yeah, no.
but so much of painting is the preparation, And that's where a lot of times the do-it-yourselfers, they don't realize that
Right.
how much is the preparation and what is a right preparation and what paint to select. Um, for a period of time, I worked in a paint store and would sell it. And when the people come in and they want to do it for themselves, is number one, the last thing you want to do is buy an inexpensive paint, because they're just saying there's nothing more expensive than a cheap can of paint
Right.
or a cheap painter. You'll end up paying for it in the long run there.
And
So
I'm going to
that's
just
where.
chime in too, because there's one other thing that is also cheap is the brush. You could
Oh,
get a
right, right.
brush
All the tools,
and,
the sundry
and you
items
end up
there.
like leaving that little pieces of the bristles all in
Oh
your
yeah,
wall.
right. Because for most people, paint is decorative.
Right.
Okay, it's
Yep.
decorative. That's the way they see it. I mean, that that was a part of the terminology. On our side, it's more protection. So we're thinking of the protective. It's a protective decorative coating, but what is the right procedure? What is a properly prepared surface? And that's where the DIY Googling it there, they may not really get it, or that would be a step that would be very easy to skip over.
Oh yeah.
Like with people that we train and work for us, they're men and women, is they realize like the easiest part is applying the paint. The
Right.
hard part is getting ready to
Is
apply
the
the
prep.
paint. And it
That's right.
depends. So a lot of times when I go in, and I still like to do, we make house calls, of course, but I like to go and look at the job when I'm bidding it just to see what it is. Because many people will just say you want to paint the walls, but and if I ask them the question, well, are the walls plaster or drywall? Well, they may or may not even know that, and ask, well, what's the difference?
Right.
Why does
Right.
that matter? Well,
Right.
when you're painting it, it makes a huge difference there. You
I'm a
know,
realtor, so I know.
right. Oh, right. And we're in New England, so we deal with a lot of old homes. And so the one thing, like to be a painter and people that work for me, it's kind of an adventure because even though we paint every day is different.
Yep.
Every
Oh,
surface is
interesting.
different.
Well,
So
right.
it's there's
Right.
always and that's where having a professional, you could save yourself from some of the pitfalls of doing it yourself. Um, uh, uh, some of the projects that we work on now, and I see people trying to do it themselves. And number one, too, is we're non-judgmental because during the beginning of the pandemic, a lot of people were stuck home and they
Yes.
decided, hey, I got time and I'm going to
Yeah.
paint the room.
Right.
And so then we were doing DIY rescues after that there because they didn't realize
Right.
that, it matters what size nap roller you use when you're painting. And a nap is just the thickness of it. So how thick is the roller? And you're going to use different naps for different surfaces. And if you don't know that, you'll end up with a really heavy stipple or orange peel. Again, terms that people don't really know what it is, but they
Right.
know what they don't like when they see it. They just don't
That's
know
right.
how to make that work. Yeah. So
Well, I don't.
that's what you pay for, and that's why when you are hiring somebody, there's just different questions to ask. How long have you been doing this, et cetera, to help you, make sure you're making the right decision, and of course, check references.
Right.
Check
So, and that's
references.
where most people, you want to work with somebody who has actually hired you before or
Yeah,
can give you a proper reference because they are aware of your quality. And it's really important. You get what you pay for. And so, matter if it's do it yourself. And I'm not saying you're the highest price out there, but you are very competitive, which is wonderful.
yeah,
So maybe once in a while you might have the high bid, but that's not what it's about. It's about getting the job done in most efficient way. And here's another thought. How about the floors? How about floors? I mean, people all of a sudden you see all the drop messes all over the floors.
yeah. Right. So a part of preparation is also protection.
Right.
And so, how do you protect the surfaces that are not to be painted? I'm just looking like in that picture you have as a backdrop there,
Yep.
and I'm seeing a grand piano. Okay. So me as a painter, one thing I do know, we can't move that. If
Right.
we move the piano, and not saying it doesn't have to be moved, it will need to be tuned after that. So that's a
Right.
conversation you're going to want to have with the customer. The piano, if it does have to be moved, you're going to have to get a specialist to move the piano. Don't rely on just anybody rolling it across the floor,
Right.
to do things like that. I'm looking at that beautiful stonework, and we've got a vaulted ceiling. So something like this is you might need some staging and things like that. So as the homeowner, they may not realize that. And also, how do you protect the stone? So
Right.
if you're just gonna try to use the blue tape to stick to that there with plastic, it'll fall off.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, this blue tape, everyone's a little bit of a fan of this blue tape
Yep.
sometimes
Yep.
and with their painting. But what they don't realize is like when you remove that, what a mess you might have made.
Right, right. So again, being a professional, there is, when I first started in the early 80s, it was just masking tape, and it was more of like what they would call like a manila color. And
Yes.
that was all there was. Blue tape came out afterwards because the original masking tape had you could only keep it on for about 24 hours. Anything longer than that, it would start to release the adhesive.
Ah,
And we worked on many projects where people taped up the hardware on the outside of the home,
right.
and I go there and I look and realize, like, oh my God, it's just regular masking tape. Now it has left the adhesive on this polished brass or whatever,
Oh
and
gosh. Yeah.
so what do they try to use to clean it off? All right. What I would use is something like WD-40 because that would break down the adhesive without ruining the finish. Nope, a lot of times they'll use a more aggressive cleaner, like a goof off or something like that, which then will strip the protective coating on the brass. And so, yeah, so
So, and this is where it goes back to you could, it's so important to reach out to Ray here and his company. So, if you have any interest in doing any sort of project, I mean, you don't want to like hold this in and like think that your either wife or your husband could like pull it off or a friend. I mean, you do
right,
want to make sure that you have the
right.
right person coming in and again, that's a great example regarding the piano. I mean, I didn't even think of that, but you're right. I mean, but that is how your brain is so triggered to think that
Yeah,
way.
yeah. So that usually annoys my wife because then when we go and visit, I'm always looking, as a contractor's eye, I'm always looking for the problems.
Yes. Well,
Okay.
see, I have,
So I got to
I
try to
have the
curb that.
wheelchair problem, but it's just I'm always thinking, can I list it? Can I list it? I'll get
Right,
you. I know
right.
how much equity you have in your house. Let me get you out of here.
Yeah,
So
and it's and
let's
it
have,
and it's
yeah, just switching subjects here a little bit to staging. So you have the big cranes, you have actually all the equipment. I mean, so what kind of do you use a mix of both, or if you're mostly residential, or
right. So in residential world, we're still a lot of ladders and specialty ladders and things like that. Where we can, we want to use a lift and products like that, because and a lot of that will depend on the home, the exterior that is per se, is
right?
what type of roof is it. A majority of the
Yeah,
roofs around here are asphalt shingle.
yeah,
There's really nothing to worry about. You could walk on that. There's no problem. However, there's also a lot of older homes that have slate roofs on it there.
right.
You do not want to be walking on those. Number one, they're slippery, but number two, most importantly, you can crack them.
Yeah,
So you have
yeah,
to be really careful. And there are a few of like the Spanish terracotta tile roofs. Again, you don't want to be walking on these things there. So that's where having the right equipment to gain access to dormers and things like that.
dormers, right.
And that's where you're going to want to, think
So,
about
so
using a
staying with
lift.
all that, then. So, it's been really warm. So I don't know if you've been still outside, or have you already come inside, or
Yeah, this is like a transition time. I mean, I've been painting for a long time, so back in the 80s and 90s, by this time of the year, it was cold.
oh yeah, we've had
Usually we would
snow.
right, we would try to here in Southern Connecticut try to stretch the season to the end of October. Well, now consistently we're painting up through Thanksgiving. And in many cases, when we're starting, I mean, we've had such a stretch of warm weather, which is unusual, but
Oh,
it's
it's been
it's
unbelievable.
becoming more normal. Whereas today we're in the 50s.
Right.
So what we'll do is there's a few projects that we will try to wait, and then what you do is then use the sun to our advantage. So we're on a project today. We're doing dormers, so we're up on a roof on the west side of the house. So even
Right.
though it's only about 50 degrees outside, you get up there in the sun, you add 20 degrees.
Yeah. Okay.
So, so smaller projects, we would never try to tackle a big project at
Right.
this time of the year, but save those little ones there. And in this particular case, sometimes, again, the homeowner, mainly your customer, you're thinking about the aesthetics of it, which is obviously uber important. But I think of the protection side of it there. So
Right.
this, the project we're on, they just got a new roof, and so it exposed that a lot of dormers are in rough shape. So what we want to do is get up there and get it done. So oil primers are not affected by the cold weather because they don't dry by evaporation. It's more of a chemical process,
Okay.
coalescing, how that works there.
Well,
So
now
colder temperatures won't affect that.
so talking about paints, there's so many paints. There's different companies of paints. And then there's, you get the little cards and there's like so many. And then I guess you go to Walmart or one of the other big box stores and you're going to get like a whole nother pile of paint because some of your other brands yeah, of your Benjamin Moore, Sherman Williams, whatever, wouldn't
Yeah.
be, well, I could be wrong. Maybe they are in the big
Oh,
box.
they are. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
they are.
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's been a consolidation over the past 40 years with paint. So a lot of the regional paint companies, they're pretty much gone. They've been gobbled up by the either Benjamin Moore, Sherwin-Williams, ICI, PPG. Those are the three big companies around here. On the West
Right.
Coast, there is still other larger companies that are out there, but most of the smaller regional companies. There used to be, local companies right here in Connecticut, more like a bathtub gin type of a production,
Right.
and they're all gone. A
Wow.
lot of it is dealing with the regulations, VOC laws, and things like that, volatile organic compounds, and that's why most paints now, interior exterior, they really don't smell.
Oh, really?
Sherwin Williams doesn't even have any oil-based paints at all, because the oil-based products are, you could smell it, and
Right.
what's off gassing, it can be harmful um,
Right.
to the people. So definitely the painters, you know,
Right.
you know,
Right.
yeah,
So let's talk painting trends. I mean, so gray, everybody's gray. We're going to paint our whole house gray, you
yeah.
know?
Well, gray is kind of going away. I mean, every company has like their color of the year,
Yeah.
and believe it or not, I saw Benjamin Moore's color, and it's like a rose color, not quite mauve, because if you remember the the, the early '90s, late '80s when things were mauve,
Oh, I do remember when they were mom.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it does seem like the trends come and go. Gray has always been popular.
Yeah.
Okay, gray's kind of safe. I mean, you're a realtor, so if people are selling their homes, the more neutral, the
Neutral.
better.
Right. A lot of
Because
white dove, which is Benjamin Moore. It seems
yeah,
to be a lot of that.
yeah,
You know,
right.
it's
Because a lot of times people, it's paint, like wallpaper, it's very personal,
right.
and so it's and it doesn't really translate that well to others.
Right.
Um, but um, like that home behind,
Wallpaper's come back in again.
it has, but not really to what it is. It's more
No.
high. It's more high end, and
Right.
in many cases, just accent walls and smaller areas there. Um, so not doing whole rooms, but just doing maybe one one wall, and also textured
So let me ask you this
wallpapers.
question. And what is not the percentage, but like, and how many homes do you go in that you're to do all the prep work and you find this beautiful room and the wall's been painted over, they painted over the wallpaper,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
right?
it used to be more common.
That's because you
Uh,
removed it all.
Right, right. But the original wall, so a lot of things like when you look at homes, and I'm sure you might see it in real estate, and I see it a lot, is when different major events happen, things changed.
Right,
So prior to World War One, you had basically like really nice oak trim on first
right.
and second floor.
Beautiful.
After World War One, there was a shortage of oak, so they were only doing it mainly in the first floor, and in the second
First
floor, it
floor.
would be a
Yep.
secondary wood, and it might have been painted instead. Uh, After World War Two, now, and a lot of it was there was a shortage of tradespeople. Prior to
Right.
World War One, more than 50% of all walls were wallpapered. So it
Yeah.
was all
That's
plastered.
crazy.
There was no the sheetrock type products were not invented until after World War Two.
Right.
Um, so it was all plaster, and most of the plaster walls were wallpapered. And that old wallpaper, you didn't butt joint them like you do now. They were overlapped,
Right.
which now, actually, some of the products that are coming out now, you overlap again. It's
Interesting.
stay around. Not that I was around before World War One. Um,
Well, I just want to make sure everybody knows I'm talking to Ray Sola here from Cloudland Paintworks. And Ray is happy and to come to your home and give you a quote for interior, exterior, small room, large, large one. I know his dream home is like a brand new home, when somebody just purchases a home. And that's because you bring your guys in, you hit every room and you just make it so fresh and clean, which is so nice.
right. And I would say like the homes that we really love to work on, it's like brand new to you. It doesn't have to be a new construction.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. In fact, um, we prefer the older homes,
Yeah,
because
see,
there's a
that's
lot of charm in the older
charm and
homes
detail.
that
There's some new
charms it.
homes that are a little boring.
Uh, right, right. And during the 90s and early 2000s, we were, up in different areas where they were, building the McMansions, so to speak, as
Right,
it was termed,
right.
and where they would try to build up the molding to replicate what used to be.
Used to be.
Yeah, yeah. And the interior is really nice, but through that phase, there was a lot of problems with exterior surfaces that the
Oh,
wood um, wasn't holding up, especially the trim. So a lot of times now, if we're going to go look at a home, let's say in the East Rock section of New Haven, these were homes that were built around before 1920. So in
oh,
that age there, in many cases, the difference is all of that exterior wood, trim, etc. is all old growth lumber. It doesn't rot like the new stuff. So many times you'll go there, the paint is peeling off. It looks horrible, and
right,
people think when they see that, oh, it's bad. We need to get rid of it. No, no, no. That's just what you see. But the wood is solid. And in
right.
many cases, then the homes that were built around the late 1990s, early 2000s, the paint looks good, but you could put your finger right through the trim.
Ray, I
The
can't
time
thank you enough
rotted.
for coming on here today.
Yeah,
You were just so knowledgeable. I
yeah,
mean, the thing is, you're part of a painting contractors association. I mean, you do go to all your educational things. I mean, it's like huge. It's just huge. But I'm going to wrap it up soon. But before I do
yeah,
that, I have some
yep,
quick questions for you,
yes,
which
absolutely.
these are like really off the cuff. And so it's going to be like the first one's a choice. Okay. Like, do you prefer pie or cake?
Oh, pie.
See, I told you these are going to be a little different questions. This has nothing to do with paint. Here's a movie one. Do you prefer Star Wars or The Godfather?
Oh, probably Star Wars.
You're sci-fi.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
All right. If you had to pick one day of the week that is your favorite, what would you say is your favorite day of the week?
Oh, Friday afternoon.
Friday afternoon. Why Fridays?
Friday afternoon. It's getting ready for the weekend.
See?
Because the idea of at my age, I've been like both generations, where the older generation worked to live, and the younger generation works to live, lives to work.
Correct.
And so I'm kind of in between that
Good.
there.
I
So the
love that.
weekends are, you get to live.
Yeah,
All right.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so with
Yep.
that, ocean or mountains?
Oh, mountains.
Because you're a skier.
Yeah. Yeah.
I knew that. Okay, if you were to rate yourself 1 to 10, 10 being the best, what kind of driver would you say you are?
Oh, I'm a 10.
See, even if you're a 5, I heard you were a 5. No, I'm only kidding. All right,
Well, yeah.
here's a,
Although I do sometimes drive a little slow. I was accused of driving like my grandfather.
oh, you see, that's probably what I heard. I wish our kids text me that.
Yeah.
Here's
Yeah.
the last one, and it's a fill in the blank. Taylor Swift is blank.
I don't know.
That's okay. You don't need to know. That's
Yeah.
fine. That's a good answer. And the funny part is, we have this group, actually a business networking group, and both of us are involved in. And I did do an interview. You asked that same question, and that same question was answered by another member. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
She's
Well,
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
other
I mean,
people said
I
no
know she's,
comment.
growing up as a kid, we used to, my father kept a boat in Stonington.
Yeah.
And so I spent a lot of my childhood up in that Watch Hill, Rhode Island, Napatry.
Yes.
And she's
Yep.
got a beautiful home up there.
Yes, she does.
Yeah,
Yes, she
right on
does.
the water there. So I would say, if anything, I'd say she picked a really good place for whatever that
So
is, a
I'm
summer
gonna
home. Good
I'm gonna
striped bass fishing.
I'm gonna edit that one, and I'm gonna
Okay.
say Taylor Swift is really great and has a beautiful home that looks like it needs some painting. So please call Ray
That
Sola
Yeah,
from
yeah. Well,
Cloudland Paintworks.
oh yeah, that would be good. Well, I mean, we do work for a lot of people that have properties that if you are
Yeah,
right beachfront, if you're beachfront there, you need to maintain your home more than average person
that's right. That's right.
because the salt water it kills things, it dry rots things. So
That's right.
we do a lot of maintenance for people that are in homes close to the water or right on the water, just for
Yep.
that reason. There, stay on
No,
top
it's
of it.
so I'm going to end this now, so we can keep rolling here in our day. Anything else that you'd like to add at all about anything?
I'm glad you stopped me because I'm quite passionate about the protection side of painting there, and I can get very easily just bore you to death talking about details of what makes a
No,
finely
it's
painted
really
surface there.
interesting. Yeah.
Right, it's interesting, but still, hurry up and just paint. Yeah,
No, it's really interesting. And
yeah,
remember, Ray has a crew, but he's easy to and accessible. I can connect you very easily if someone's listening in on this later on, and it's like, how do I get hold of them?
yeah.
So you
Yeah,
do have a web. Do you have a website
we
or?
do. We do have a website, and we have a new one that's almost ready. It'll be our 4th generation. That is, we need to get it ready ASAP.
Okay.
Because of different rules and regulations coming out about privacy and things like that we don't have on our old site. So that's one of the benefits of working for yourself and owning a business is you need to know a lot of things that you didn't think you needed to know.
Exactly. And that's why I love doing what I do too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, Ray, thank you so much for your time. And again, it's Ray Sola. I kind of get ER sometimes. That's a Massachusetts thing. I'm going to add one other thing because my father would be very upset if I didn't add this. And that is my father, Robert Adam. He had a painting company and he painted for I don't know how many years. And but he had a slogan and he even had it printed up, which is Adam Painting Company. We paint with the best lead paint. Now, as a realtor, I know, no. But I had to chime that in there. So,
Did he?
Thank you so much for
Oh,
everything.
very
And
good. Thank
we're
you.
gonna do another one again soon.
Absolutely.
Okay, everybody have a great day.